Derek is recording the call.
Ready? Is this our lives? Is this all we'll ever be? Just stuck in our homes, separate? Is there a light at the end of this tunnel? Who knows where we're going, but we do have updates on postponed movies and new release dates, the Tiger King craze, and we all discuss what we've been continuing to watch in our time at home. So let's roll for sound. Welcome back to another Quarantine Day in Action episode.
Welcome.
Hello.
We're all decided to jump on for another pod, as we got actually a decent amount of updates on a lot of the postponed movies and whatnot over the last 2 weeks. So I thought we'd just jump into that real quick. Movies like Quiet Place got a release date for September. I thought I saw Mulan for July. Was that
July 24th? Yeah.
July 24th.
Mm-hmm.
Minions is out July of next year now. And the movies like Antlers still doesn't have a release date. New Mutants, no release date still. They decided to release Artemis Fowl on Disney Plus. That seems like a safe bet to go with on that one. I don't know how well that was going to do, to be honest. And was there any other ones? I was trying to think of. There were some other ones I thought that got some dates confirmed.
Soul got moved.
Soul's in the fall now. Oh, the big one was Marvel. Marvel pushed their entire slate. Pretty much one release date. So Black Widow took Eternals, and then going forward, they bumped each movie back in the release schedule. So I think Thor's in.
Yeah.
Is it still 2022?
2022 now.
Okay. Yeah. So
I think Eternals, it was originally 2021, and now it's.
Because Eternals is going to come out in March next year. Shang-Chi is going to have the summer release date in May. What was after that? Is it Doctor Strange after that? I think it's going to have either a fall release or a February release. Let me look at those dates again.
I don't remember.
We'll pull that up.
Mm-hmm.
And there it is. Doctor Strange is going to shift to November of next year. Thor: Love and Thunder is going to be in February of 2022. Black Panther 2 is going to be also in 2022 in May, and then Captain Marvel is now dated for July of 2022. So a lot.
Interesting.
And then Taika Waititi came out and said that it's not going to affect the production of Thor, as far as we know. The release date, so I think it's because it's far out from now. I know he did an Instagram live for a viewing of Thor Ragnarok, and I think he also talked about some stuff for Thor: Love and Thunder, where he was kind of playing around with them, but also kind of hit some little hints of what's happening. So, I think that's it. Did you guys have any thoughts on the postponements or the new schedules of anything, or is there anything you were hoping that got a date that didn't as of right now?
I was kind of just hoping that they'd just release all of them now, since
put them all out at once.
None of us can really go anywhere. So
as of right now, movies are slated for July, but it's I don't know how confident it is yet. It still seems pretty light. Some movies are I think August to the end of the year are still that were already set in those dates are like Bill and Ted was still in August, and I think something else was in August too, but they've been holding strong still. But our summer season pretty much is toast in terms of movies, so we're probably not going to have the movie going experience till hopefully July, but who knows?
Bad Boys 2 for best movie of the year.
I was kind of curious to see how it's going to affect end of the year stuff, what movies will still be what we'll have by the end of the year. But fingers crossed for Sonic, the best movie of the year right here. Best visual effects coming back.
Oh. No, but I just think that they should release. At least the movies that are ready to be released, so the ones that were coming out maybe this month or so. I feel like they should just release it with the home releases that they're doing currently. Everyone's staying home. If you think about it, what are they going to do? They're going to pay for a movie anyways. So
yeah,
they're going to make that money regardless.
That's what I was getting curious about on the home release numbers to versus the box office, which with Trolls it had its in home theater release this past Friday, and it broke the record I think previously held for video on demand movie. I don't know what the number was, but now it's
probably wasn't high.
Probably was not that high to be
probably
fair.
wasn't that high, yeah.
But it set the record nonetheless, and I don't know how much it's going to affect its box office, like how much it would have made versus to what it's going to make now.
Yeah.
I guess it's going to depend on how well it does. Maybe other studios will follow suit. I mean, as I said, Disney is going to release Artemis Fowl, the Disney Plus. So if you have Disney Plus, you're getting it. I think New Mutants might be another one that gets released too, because they didn't.
That'd be something.
They didn't slate it, so I'm assuming that's probably going to get a home release, video on demand release. What are your thoughts on that, Daniel? What have you been thinking
about the New Mutants, or just everything in general?
Just everything in general.
I mean, I just hope Tenet doesn't get delayed too much. If it does get delayed,
isn't it going to be December now? I thought that got moved, didn't it? Or was it just like people? I think
there was just rumors. Yeah, it was just like, like people thinking like, oh, if it gets moved, it's gonna be in December. But like, it needs an IMAX release, so December limits its options. Since Top Gun.
Yeah, Top Gun.
As far as IMAX, Top Gun and Dune, I think so.
Yeah, I was gonna say is because Dune just released a bunch of set photos, like first look at the movie, and that's still on track for its release date. I don't think they're gonna move it as of now. Yeah. But that's the only movie I think that's like that might be still worrisome. But I haven't heard anything yet. I think he's going to hold out on it, Christopher Nolan. So
yeah.
But on the subject of Dune, there was a bunch of new set photos that just came out.
I saw that.
The people amped about it. I know you were really excited for this, Dan. What were your initial thoughts? I know this is photos, but.
I mean, you don't see much except the characters or the actors, but I mean, the look looks interesting. Like the aesthetic of it. Like I know it's supposed to be this like really kind of like interesting sci-fi epic. So from the looks of it, like it looks like it's gonna live up to that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I kind of forgot the cast for the movie, so that was kind of like a nice reminder to see like this movie's gonna have a huge cast coming in. I like the funny comparison I saw with Timothy Chalamet. He basically looked like the people were making comparisons to like a Kylo Ren-esque looking based on like his outfit he had on.
That he looked like a Sith.
Yeah, he definitely had the look going, but I mean, it looked like the visuals look really cool. Some like the costume pieces, and I mean, it's Dennis, so it should be visually stunning movie. So
yeah, and he's done other sci-fi movies, so I feel like he was the right choice to direct this movie. So I'm excited. I hope it doesn't get too delayed. I feel like the end of the year movies are a little more safe.
Yeah,
like, I don't know how they're doing post-production. Maybe just each person involved in post-production is working from home, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So the other movie that got delayed and hasn't had a new date is In the Heights. So I don't know what's going to happen with that.
That's true. Because
it was so close to being done. Like they were in the final days of post-production. So I don't know how that's going to work. And I think it's mostly the soundtrack that they needed to fuck you, Brett. to finish. So I'm guessing because they can't record like in a room, maybe that's why it's being delayed until they can come back and record the remaining of the soundtrack. So
well, if they can dream it, they can do it.
Yeah.
But then again, they want to stop from dreamers to dream.
You're kicking out the dreamers, man.
God damn.
Brett, did you have any thoughts on Dune? I don't know what your interest was in it before or after these photos came out. Do you have any thoughts on it?
I did not have any interest in it. So
that's fair.
I mean, I know
neutral.
Yeah. I don't even have high hopes for it. I don't have any expectations really.
All right, that's fair. Okay.
All I know is it's a sci-fi movie. And this was supposed to be like the biggest movie back in the day. to like ever come out.
Yeah.
Right. This is that movie.
Yeah.
Well, someone tried to make it in like the 70s, and
it was like shit.
No, and his production was like too over the top, so like they ended up like canning the movie, and then David Lynch made one in the 80s that wasn't well received.
Oh yeah. See. So yeah.
And then they made a miniseries like in the 90s or early 2000s, and I think that was better received because the book's really long, but the movie's gonna be split, kind of like how they split it in 2 parts. So.
Okay. Well, we'll just have to keep an eye out for a trailer and see if we get a better look from that. So.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I'm going to talk about more David Lynch later, but before we get to what we've been watching, I wanted to talk about the Tiger King craze that's kind of been happening right now and all the productions that have been kind of spouting from this series. As we talked on the last podcast, me and Brett had watched, I don't know if Daniel, you watched it as of now. No? Okay. The Tiger King craze has blown up. I didn't watch it. Did you watch it yet, Brett?
I have not.
There was a bonus episode that came out. This was on Easter, and it was basically a follow-up with a group of the people that were featured in the series. And I think Joel McHale interviewed them all, so we get to see where they're at now, how it's affected them, things like that. Maybe in the future we'll get back to that and see what it was. But a lot of people have kind of been voicing their opinions on it, like Carol Baskin, who was featured in the series, who was not happy with her portrayal by Netflix, as she was not featured in the bonus episode. She did not want any interest. She wasn't asked. But yeah, without saying too much, she didn't like how she was portrayed in the series. But from that, another network, not Netflix, is doing like a series not specifically on Joe Exotic, but on other members of it, like Doc and Carol Baskin, some other people that were featured, in terms of just making adaptations off of it. I think Ryan Murphy was looking to do one with Rob Lowe, and Rob Lowe would be Joe Exotic, just talks. And I think there's one in works with Kate McKinnon playing Carol Baskin as a separate production. There's just been a lot of stuff happening with this, so who knows what will actually come from it, what will eventually happen. Brett, since you're also the other one who's fully watched it, what are your thoughts on all these Tiger King stuff coming out from this?
I mean, it's a really interesting story and really interesting situation that had happened out there back in the day. I mean, now that it's being brought to us, now, yeah, it's a huge thing. But I mean, slowly, I'm kind of getting over it.
It's gonna hit that burnout as we get oversaturated with it, and they're not gonna be able to capitalize on it quick enough because the turn, especially with the current climate of the world right now, there's not going to be a quick enough production to get it out there so people can they can kind of ride the train still.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd be curious to see. I mean, there's a lot of productions happening, obviously, so people are just seeing the opportunity. But I don't know. I might check one out if one happens, but I don't think I would watch every single one that I like. I'm not gonna seek out every Tiger King or Joe Exotic related thing that comes from this,
Yeah. I mean, I saw Fox News was oh yeah, come see the stuff that you never got to see on the show, and I was like, they kind of saw it all. I mean, what are you talking about?
What's left to show? They kind
what's left? Yeah.
Yeah. What were you saying, Daniel?
Well, I was gonna say that I haven't even seen it, and I'm already burnt out. That's part of the reason why I didn't finish it, is because it's all over the place. So I was like, I don't know, the hype kind of killed it for me. So
yeah. No, I get it, and I'm sure it's going to get burnt out for a lot of people soon enough if the way it's going, the way people are talking about it. Yeah, that was it. I don't know if you boys saw anything in the news world that you wanted to talk about. I know Ryan Murphy's got a new show on Netflix, Daniel, and there was some new stuff for Hollywood. I don't know if
the trailer came out. Yeah.
But I think in terms of, with everything happening, it's in terms of newer stuff coming, everything's kind of a haze, and a lot of productions have been postponed. So who knows what we're getting? A lot of stuff that's coming is probably already was in post production or near almost done, and I'm sure they found ways to complete it. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's all I had news-wise to talk about. So if you guys want to just jump in, I know both of you had a couple movies, actually quite a few movies that you watched in the gap in between episodes. I only had a few things. So I guess whoever wants to jump in and talk about what they've been watching, whoever goes first.
Brett,
Daniel, go ahead. Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
No, you go ahead.
Yep, I'll go. All right. So I started watching. For some reason, I kind of really got into World War II-esque movies. Mm-hmm. So my first movie, even though this is not World War II, I just wanted to watch it, and I've wanted to watch it for a long time. And I came across it on Netflix. It was The King's Speech.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, 2010 movie. Thought it was fantastic. It's very interesting, you know.
This was the. Go ahead.
To see that whole dynamic of like a king and like a regular dude, and I don't know. It was really interesting. I kind of enjoyed it a lot.
This was the Best Picture winner of that year, right? Daniel, wasn't it? All right.
What was the
movie? Hold on, you vanished for a moment. You're okay. The King's Speech. This was the Best Picture, wasn't it, of the year it came out?
Yeah, it won Best Picture.
Okay. It was Colin Firth and who is his speech coach?
Oh fuck, is his name? It's Barbosa.
Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey Rush. Okay.
Jeffrey Rush. Yeah.
But yeah.
It's and Helena Bonham Carter's in it too.
She's the queen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I watched that movie, and then immediately after I watched that movie, I scrolled on back to Netflix to watch a few more things, and I came across the death of Stalin.
Oh yeah, you tweeted about that.
Yeah. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I just came. I watched the trailer I watched the whole trailer before I watched it. Obviously, I thought it was hilarious just from the trailer alone. And boy, when I pressed play, I was not expecting that entire thing to be that funny. I mean, even from the get-go, from the start, where like Stalin calls the band and has them like redo the whole thing.
You have to redo
Dude, that was fantastic. All the way to the end. I mean, where it kind of just comes full circle, where they're back in that auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But yeah, and it's a little bit of historical kind of thing.
It's more of a satire, right?
Yeah, it's a satire.
Yeah. And I also watched this because I had been wanting to watch it. And I saw you tweet about it, and I'm like, all right, I'll have to jump in and check it out. And yeah, I loved it too. I thought the humor was like on point. It was very sharp, very quick. The cast is really good. It has Steve Buscemi. It has Jeffrey Tambor. It has Jason Isaacs, I think is his name.
Yeah.
It's got a great cast, and it's funny because I heard Stalin talking like a British accent. I'm like, wait, what's? And then they all don't do any Russian accents. They're all kind of just talking as themselves, which is I think it adds to like the humor of it too.
Yeah, totally.
And it's just I would recommend. As Brett's saying too, I definitely like while it's on Netflix, it's kind of like I think a movie that kind of slipped under the cracks when it first released. So
yeah,
highly recommend. So
yes. Back on my World War II binge here, my war binge. I went ahead and started watching Bridge of Spies.
Okay.
I rented that movie. I thought it was a pretty fantastic movie as well.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks is a phenomenal lawyer / mediator for a deal with trading two spies. When he gets 2 for 1, actually. But I thought it was fantastic. I thought. I thought the whole entire how they wanted to keep it a secret kind of made it a little bit more intense. And I kind of really felt intense kind of throughout the whole movie. And now moving on to my other World War II movie that I also rented. It is The Darkest Hour.
This is the Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Yes. Movie about Winston Churchill and his, I guess, kind of rise to becoming the world famous whatever he was. I forget now.
Prime Minister.
There you go. The world famous Prime Minister that he's now known as today. Gary Oldman was fantastic.
Yeah.
When they kind of like described how like Winston Churchill talked, how he like mumbled and stuff, I was like, oh, okay, like it'll probably still be, something that I can listen to, but oh hell no, you need like some subtitles. I mean, he did a fantastic job, I thought, and Lily James, I mean, she wasn't that big of a part of the movie, but I mean, she was also like a pretty great addition as his typist back in the day. So yeah. Two more movies I got to. Don't worry. Keeping in that area of early 1900s here. I watched the movie Stan and Ollie. It's about Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. It's basically a movie about how one of their contracts is up and they want to move over and they want to own their movies, basically. But the the studio that owns one contract doesn't want to let Hardy go or whatever. And, they go down the line 16 years later towards the end of their lives and they go for like one last hurrah. And that's where the movie kind of mainly just takes place. It's very heartwarming. It's a very good friendship movie if you ever want to like appreciate your friends for a second. But yeah, it's very it's right there.
Okay.
So that was the movie I watched as well. It had Steve Coogan and John C. Reilly playing as Laurel and Hardy. I have seen some Laurel and Hardy skits, like the hospital one. And honestly, pretty close. Okay. Steve Coogan looks kind of almost exactly like Laurel. It's kind of spooky.
Wow.
Yeah. And finally, getting out of the World War II era zone kind of thing, I watched Zombieland 2 Double Tap.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And I mean, pretty great.
Yeah.
Just like the first one. There was a little scare there, but we're good. So we're all good now. And Zombieland 2, I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think it's on one of the premium cable channels.
I think it's like Stars or whatever.
I think Stars, yeah, because my parents had watched it recently as well. But yeah.
Oh yeah. And those are the movies that I have watched within the last 2 weeks.
How was your Sherlock watch? Did you give up on Sherlock, or did you find something new to watch in terms of TV?
Okay. So in terms of TV,
yeah.
I haven't really given up on Sherlock. I just hadn't really had the time. I've kind of just been watching movies mostly.
Okay.
But there is this one TV show that I want to highlight. It's absolute just trash TV.
I already know it.
there's a place somewhere right in here that holds trash TV to a very high standard. And The Circle on Netflix is very trash TV. It's basically like who's the most likable person in this house, and it's so weird and dumb, but I mean, I was hooked, and it's very bad. Don't watch it. Or watch it on trash TV. I don't know. It's up to you. But yeah.
All right.
Those are the TV shows that I have watched recently.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Daniel, why don't you go ahead?
Daniel, take it away.
Take it away.
Okay. I also have quite a few movies that I saw. They all have something in common. Well, some of them. One of them doesn't.
Are they all 1920s war movies as well? Because I hope they are.
No, unfortunately, no. But to begin with, I finally saw Bumblebee because it's available for streaming. So I finally saw it. I sat down and saw it, and I really enjoyed it. It's a fun movie. You know, it's probably the best Transformers movie.
No, it is the best Transformers movie. I will stand by that.
I have a soft spot for the first one, but this one was definitely way better than all the sequels. Like, way better. And it sucks that it underperformed because it was really well written, and I just really enjoyed it. It was a fun, you know, like entertaining, like popcorn flick. So yeah, I know you really liked it when it came out, Derek.
I was definitely surprised by it when I saw it. Actually, I went in very low in terms of the how the other Transformers movies had sat with me. But yeah, it was very heartwarming, and they really it was just well written, and I think they focused on the relationship rather than the explosions that are also happening in the movie. So
yeah, and I like the story of the main character. I forgot what her name was, the character, but it's played by Haley Steinfeld.
Holly, it's played by Holly.
Holly and I thought Haley Steinfeld. And Bumblebee's so endearing, and the fact that he got his own movie was really cool. So I really enjoyed it. And then I started on a string of movies that have multiple things in common, but the main thing is that they're all mockumentaries.
Okay.
And they're all written and or directed by the same person. And I'm talking about the Christopher Guest mockumentaries from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. I saw all of them.
Yes.
Starting with arguably the most famous one. And
I already know what you're going to say.
Yeah, what is considered one of the best comedies of all time, and This is Spinal Tap, which I had never seen, and that movie had me rolling.
That movie is so good.
It's hilarious. It's so ridiculous. It's so funny. None of them are British. That's the best part, and they're so good at playing these eccentric British band, and it's hilarious. And I laughed throughout the whole movie, and it was so funny. And I don't know, it has so many memorable moments. It's hard to highlight
it's super quotable. It's
very quotable.
It's what is it? It's Harry Shearer, it's Christopher Guest, and it's Michael McKean as
Michael McKean. Yeah,
as the main band. But them together are just hilarious, and I actually haven't seen the movie in a long time, so I want to go watch that now. But yeah, I highly recommend.
Yeah, it's great. And they I kind of went on a hole, and that's why I watched all these movies that they have all of these people in common. That after This is Spinal Tap, he made Christopher Guest directed and co-wrote with Eugene Levy a movie called Waiting for Guffman, that if you haven't seen, I highly recommend. It's from '96. It's hilarious. It's also a mockumentary, and it's about this small town in Missouri that's they're celebrating their 150th anniversary, and they're mounting a musical that is going to tell the story of the town. And this really flamboyant choreographer called Corky St. Blair is or Corky St. Clair, I think, something like that, played by Christopher Guest, and it's hilarious. And it has Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Fred Willard, Parker Posey, all the people that these are people that have worked with him throughout the whole the other movies that I'm going to talk about also. Yeah. That movie's besides after Spinal Tap, that's probably my favorite one out of the bunch. It's freaking hilarious. And it's really funny. And then after that, I saw Best in Show, which is a little more famous.
Saw that one.
About a dog show, and it's also a mockumentary. All of these are mockumentaries. And that one's really funny. The same people in it: Christopher Guest, Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy, and all these people. And that one's also really funny. There's a really funny moment in that movie where there's this couple that have this Weimaraner, and they're like they coddle her a lot, and then they can't find her toy, and then they're like, "Where's the toy?" And they like just argue, and it's really funny. One thing that I found that I read about these movies is that the script was like non-existent pretty much. There was just like an outline, so it's ad-libbed for the most part, and it's just the results are hilarious.
I can definitely see
these
that.
are all these are all movies that were filmed like documentaries, so they have like a lot of footage to choose from. Like I read that most of these movies had like 60 or more hours of footage to choose from. So Best in Show was really funny, and then after that I saw A Mighty Wind, which is about like this guy, like record label guy who dies, and he was like responsible for all these like folk groups in the like 60s and 70s, and they all come together to do like a memorial concert, and it's really funny too. And original songs in that one. Also in Waiting for Guffman, there's original songs that were all written by like the same people, like Michael McKean, Harry Shearer, and Christopher Guest. And then in A Mighty Wind, even Eugene Levy wrote some of the songs, and Annette O'Toole, who's married to Michael McKean, she wrote some of the songs. Even Catherine O'Hara wrote one of the songs in A Mighty Wind, and it's really funny. That I saw yesterday, and then this morning I saw For Your Consideration, which is also really funny, and it's about like a movie being made that's being like they're like talking about awards buzz for it, and then like the actors like start freaking out about like that, and it's really funny. Same people in it, like pretty much everyone that's in all the like it's the same cast in all these movies, and like the later ones, like Jennifer Coolidge is in the later ones, so is Jane Lynch. So it's like all like comedy people, all like what's his name? Michael John Higgins, I think is his name.
John Michael Higgins.
John Michael Higgins. He's in some of them too, and he's really funny. These are all really funny movies. But definitely like This Is Spinal Tap is so goddamn hilarious. Like that one's my favorite of the bunch. But I recommend all of them. Waiting for Guffman I feel like is a little underrated, and it's like a hidden gem, and I just really enjoyed all of them. All these mockumentaries.
Are all those? You said Bumblebee was. All those streaming? The ones you?
I think most of them are like a part of like a premium add-on, or like they're in some sort of like cable channel.
Okay.
Or you can rent them. So.
Okay.
That way you did.
Yeah. But they're all great movies. They all have like their quirkiness and all that, but it's cool to see like all the same actors like playing different characters, and like just they're so different in each movie, and it's just really really cool. Like part of the reason I went into this string of movies was because Schitt's Creek ended last week. The final episode aired, and there was a documentary after the show ended that Dan Levy said that he kind of wanted to do something similar, like humor-wise with the show, and that's why he asked his dad to help him with the show, because since his dad co-wrote most of these movies, well, co-wrote in a sense because they don't really have a script, but and I'm glad I saw them. It was cool to. I hadn't seen like besides like the really famous Catherine, like Beetlejuice or American Pie with Eugene Levy. Like I hadn't really seen them in a lot of movies. I started thinking, so it was great to see them, and they have great chemistry. And it was really cool. I highly recommend all these movies.
Yeah, as I said, I love This Is Spinal Tap, so I'm glad you watched it. That's definitely one. And the only one of those I've seen is Best in Show. Now, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I know it was really funny when I watched it. So I'll definitely have to check out the rest of those. I've only heard of the only other one I've heard of was Waiting for Guffman, of the ones you mentioned. So I'll have to check out the rest of them and see if I can maybe find them to check out as well.
And he made another one a couple like 3 or 4 years ago that's on Netflix called Mascots. I don't know if you guys seen that. That's the only one I didn't see.
I saw that show up, but I didn't see it. I don't know if it reviewed well or whatever it was. I saw mixed reviews on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it got mixed reviews, but it's written by Christopher Guest. This is Eugene Levy had nothing to do with this one, so I feel like maybe that's why it's not as good. Or I don't know, maybe it's just he lost his touch. But he plays Christopher Guest plays the same character that he plays in Waiting for Guffman. So that's the only reason I want to see it, is just to see that. But and that has a cool cast of like comedians too. So like more modern ones, not the same people. Okay. Some of the same people, but not all of them.
Gotcha. I'll have to check. I'll have to go through those and check them out then.
Mm-hmm.
And then go ahead.
I'm gonna talk now. The TV wise, I haven't really seen much new things. But I did want to talk about the Schitt's Creek finale, which, like I said, aired last week, and I thought it was an excellent finale. Like, it capped off the series really well. The last 2 episodes of the show, I feel like it's like a 2-part finale in a sense, and just those 2 episodes were so emotional. They're so I don't know, like they're just really really well written. It's amazing to see how these characters like came so far and how their lives changed, even though they were like so like kind of like resistant at first to living in this town and all that. But like, show has great character development, great writing, great. The finale was fantastic. Like, it's probably up there in terms of like best like endings for me. Because the show ended how it should have ended, when it should have ended, and it's just a great show. I'm already on season 3 of the rewatch, so yeah.
Jesus do I hear the new Fleabag?
Yeah, kind of.
Just can't give it up.
Just can't?
Nope.
Once it's done, you just can't give it up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
but yeah, and
similar.
Just real quick, I saw the. Go ahead.
No. You finish on yours, since I'm going to move on to me once you're done.
I was just going to say that I saw the first 2 episodes of This Is Us. I don't know if you guys have seen that show. It's like very like it's been really well received since it premiered, and the first 2 episodes like sold me on it. So I think I'm gonna keep watching that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I didn't watch it because I'm not a bitch.
Damn.
All right.
Let's just
you want to cut that?
Up to you.
I'll cut it since you asked. All right. Well, as similar to both of you, what I've been watching also has a theme. Most of them. I'll just start with the one that's out there. We already talked about Death of Stalin. That was one of the 2 movies I watched between the last episode and now. But I want to talk about the series I watched first. It's unrelated. I did watch Don't Fuck with Cats, since it was after that Tiger King. I was kind of looking for another true crime, documentary. And that was crazy, because that was like the story behind that is also just kind of like the commitment and like the cat and mouse game between like this people trying to find this guy and then the guy itself is just kind of like insane on what he did. And Daniel, did you watch this as well?
Oh yeah.
Okay, you both watched this, right?
Yeah, it's insane. The show's insane.
Yeah,
it's freaking crazy. I saw it in pretty much one sitting. I started it on a Friday night, and by Saturday afternoon I had finished it.
Because it's only
fucking crazy.
It's only 3 episodes, so it was
3 episodes.
Yeah, it's a quick binge. So, but it's really without saying too much, it's really interesting. There are some it might be hard to watch moments. They don't stuff that's not shown, but it's it's implied what's happening. So it's kind of could be a hard watch for certain people, just as a forewarning. But it's definitely really well done. My only thing is it had a weird message at the end of it.
Yeah, the ending was kind of threw me off too.
And I'm like, what? Why? So should I not have watched this then? I was really kind of put off by the end of it. So, I mean, it's still worth checking out. It's just kind of a weird last 5 minutes of this series. So,
hey, what happens in the last 5 minutes?
Basically it's just you're part of the problem for watching this. Why are you even? It's it's like one of those things. It's don't teach me a lesson. Just Just give me this.
It's like don't preach.
Don't preach to me.
Like,
what's your stupid name?
I'm just here to watch
Boss Moving or whatever.
Boss
Body moving. Yeah,
body moving. Yeah.
Fuck it. And now the rest of the stuff I watched is all related to one property, which is Twin Peaks. Everything I've watched has been Twin Peaks related. I have finished the original series. Fantastic show. It was a shame because it ends on a cliffhanger in the original series. And it's a shame that it didn't continue because it's one hell of a cliffhanger to end on. It's so ahead of its time in terms of just writing and the story, characters. It's there's so many likable characters and so many interesting aspects they choose to show. Like a crime show like that could easily have like a bunch of like kind of like one just typecast characters, they're very kind of bland kind of characters for like a cop show, but each character is kind of unique. They have their own portrayal. You're able to kind of connect. The small town vibe is really cool too. It builds to this larger story it's very David Lynch, but it's also kind of subdued just due to like being on television, but it's still very well done. But the core of the show is Kyle MacLachlan as Special Agent Dale Cooper. That might be my favorite character of any thing I've watched. He is a great character, and I was bummed when I finished that, and I'm like, I wanted more immediately. So after I was finished with that, I would just with that, I would highly recommend that. It's really well done. It's like 1990, 1991. Some stuff is of the time just based on effects and like how it's done, but I think it's got a great music. I think it still ages really well. So I was wanting more as soon as I finished. So I watched the prequel movie, Fire Walk with Me, which was released the year after. And the difference with that one is I'd say that one embraces more of David Lynch's style than the show. The show being on network television at the time couldn't really do a lot of what they could do. This kind of fully embraces it. While I say it is a prequel, it does kind of spoil the show if you go into the show, because the basis of the show is they're trying to find who killed Laura Palmer, this teen that's kind of who's kind of like connected with a lot of people in the town. And the movie kind of follows her last days up until it happens, and it shows exactly what is happening, what's going on. I would say watch the show, then watch the movie, because it makes you kind of appreciate the show, because it doesn't reveal it right away on the show. It doesn't reveal it to like the second season. But the movie is definitely more David Lynch. It's more mature. It's more violent. It's definitely more out there in terms of the show is. I think the show is a bit more like digestible, like for people to watch. Like the movie definitely is gonna it's gonna have you trying to reach out a little bit more to kind of go with it. I was still along for the ride, but I think I loved the show. The movie was good, but it didn't really give me everything I wanted, because it follows Laura Palmer, and her character is kind of interesting because I want to like the character, but it doesn't really do a good job of making me like her the whole time. But it's really visually like feeling. There is good dialogue for the most part in the movie. The only thing it's missing is it really subdues, like, because it's before Kyle MacLachlan comes on to the show mainly, so he's very small parts of just what he's doing beforehand. And I think it's kind of missing that touch, because he really kind of brings the whole show together with his character, and the movie's kind of missing that. So I mean, if you really like the show, I would recommend the movie, because it does add some like answer some questions that the TV show didn't get the answer at the time. So lastly, the revival came out 3 years ago. So after this 25-year break, Showtime got to let David Lynch kind of continue and kind of give the show its kind of ending. I didn't get to finish it. I only just started it. But it very much still has the same tone. Being on Showtime, it has a lot more liberties into what it can do with like the source material and like ideas. It's definitely like, I'd say it has all the David Lynchian stuff that was in the movie, all kind of maintaining like the sound and like the feel of the characters. It features a lot of the characters that were in the original series that are some that had passed or didn't return for the series. And then it's been really good so far. It's like, it's kind of feels like the reviews I've heard, it's just like a 18 episode movie, and it definitely feels like that, how it's being kind of like presented. But it's starting a little slow. It's kind of building stuff. You're just kind of catching up with what's going on. The one thing I'll say about the entirety of this Twin Peaks is who they get and who has kind of shown up within all these different. In the original series, like David Duchovny was in the show before he was on X-Files. Heather Graham, Billy Zane was in the show. A lot of familiar faces show up. In the movie, David Bowie's in the movie for like very brief, but he plays like kind of like a interesting character. Basically, his character like just shows up who's been gone for 2 years and then just disappears again.
Does he die?
As far as I know, I don't know. To be honest, he doesn't know. I don't know what happened to him.
Well, in real life, he dies. Terry.
Well, in real life, he does. But apparently, I heard he returned for the show before he passed. So I'll be curious to see what his role is. Matthew Lillard's in the first couple episodes of the revival, and then I heard like Michael Cera is in the revival. What's her name? Amanda Seyfried. There's been a lot of people attached to this show because I think it just is like a cultural phenomena. The original series was, and a lot of people kind of like it has a cult following. And my sister has been like telling me to watch this show for so long, and I'm really glad I did because the show is really like something I like a lot. So I would highly recommend it. It's probably one of my favorite shows. I'm gonna be curious to see how I compare with the return to like the original series. Is I don't know if I'll be able to kind of like they're almost kind of separate while they're very connected at the same time. So it's interesting. But I would recommend to you guys the original at least, as I think it's really fun. It's really funny. I think one of the funniest parts is David Lynch has a character on the show who is very hard of hearing. So often he's shouting the entire time when he's talking to characters, and it's often like not coherent or he's repeating what a character just said, and it's very funny. So that's all my Twin Peaks talk.
The revival, is that 2 seasons or just one?
It's 1 season, 18 episodes. Yeah. So
and then that's it, right? That's like the end of the whole show.
As far as I know, that's it. I don't know if they're planning on doing any more. I'll see how it ends to see if they left it open, but I'll get back. I'm sure by the time we do another one, I'll have it done. But that's.
And you said the original aired on like regular television. What channel did it?
It was on ABC originally.
ABC, okay.
It was on ABC, yeah.
For some reason, I always thought that it aired like on cable, but I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, it was originally on ABC. Kyle MacLachlan, clearly, as much as I love the character, he won a Golden Globe for playing Special Agent Dale Cooper. So it's he's very well praised as that character. It's kind of crazy after watching the show how much I've seen the influence from the show into other properties. I think I mentioned that last time too, but
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of different shows, like Riverdale's tried to like emulate it. Like another show I watched called Gravity Falls emulates some of the stuff. Its influence on pop culture is crazy. So
cool.
That's it. That's my talk. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for listening.
Honestly, I've always been curious about this show too, so I think I might check it out because I've like you said, like it's been on pop culture for such a long time, and they always talk about how much it's influenced, like, you know, like things since then. So, and I'm always down for like a good mystery, like, you know. So
it keeps you on edge.
The original series is on Netflix, right?
The original series is on Netflix. Oh yeah, original series on Netflix. I had to rent the movie because it's not streaming anywhere. I got a free trial on Showtime because I don't have Showtime. And I got it for a month. I think some cable companies are giving some of the premium channels for free right now, so you might be able to just find it on Showtime somewhere if you have a provider that's giving it out. But
which is HBO.
Like HBO is like, yeah, they put some content out for free to check out. So that's it. That's all I got to talk about. Boys, did you have any other thoughts? Anything maybe you're planning on watching, or Brett, you had something?
Today, I just remembered this as you were talking there. Today, I actually finished McMillions.
Oh, yeah, you were talking.
Oh, that's a documentary, yes. Right?
Yeah, kind of, yes. A documentary TV show or whatever.
Go on.
How was that?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's about the McDonald's Monopoly game and how it's a scam, essentially, right?
basic how they scammed the Monopoly game. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because essentially at first it wasn't meant to be a scam. But they like caught on to like people in the same kind of basic area just were winning, and they were like, that's really random that like in the same area these people are winning a lot. So then like the FBI starts looking into it, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, the Monopoly game is still going on today. They have, fired the company that they used to work with, those games. That's kind of a big thing in that show. So now that I'm sure they do it all by themselves now. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How many episodes is it?
6.
Okay. All right.
6 1-hour-long episodes.
I'll have to check that out. I wanted to check it out, so.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay. With that, you guys have anything you're planning on watching in the coming up future here? I know, Danny, you're saying you're planning on watching This Is Us. Were there any other movies you had maybe you wanted to check out? Or is it just kind of, you kind of been just feeling it out as you've been seeing stuff?
Yeah, like there's a couple things on Netflix that I've heard are good, like the platform that's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
I wanted to check that out. And other than that, I don't know.
What was that, Brett?
I said, and The Death of Stalin, right, Daniel? That's something that.
Yeah. I do want to see that because I did want to see it when it came out, and now that you guys like praised it, I am definitely going to see that.
I think you would like it a lot. I think you would like it.
Yeah, and I like satires and that type of comedy, so I think I might even watch it tonight, like because it's short, right? It's like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
right.
It moves pretty quick. I think it's only like hour 30, hour 40. So I've been wanting to watch it again because like I wanted to like it was like that good. I wanted to give it another watch.
I think it might be one of my upcoming one of my favorite movies.
I would agree.
Oh, wow.
To be honest, yeah, I would say that as well. Brett, anything you're planning on watching? Anything you kind of more or less the same?
Just out here free balling the stuff that I'm watching. So whatever I see that looks interesting, it's what I'm hopping on.
All right.
I remembered something that I added on my list. That's like a mini series that's 4 hours long, and it's called Unorthodox, and I've heard really good things about it. I wanted to check that out. It's about this like Orthodox Jewish girl who like escapes her, I guess, family because she feels very trapped, and it's about her story, and I guess it's based on a real person.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just gonna keep going through the return for Twin Peaks, and once I'm done, it's finally time to check out what Walter White, Jesse Pinkman are doing. So I'm gonna go finally watch Breaking Bad. The first time.
Say my name.
Which is funny because I think I'm gonna watch that too.
Are you really? Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
It's funny, my dad is literally watching Breaking Bad right now for the first time. He just finished Better Call Saul like a week ago, and he's on Breaking Bad now. So some stuff's been spoiled for me, so I'm gonna try to hopefully start that in the next week, and then by maybe next episode I can maybe talk more about that and how I missed out on it before and see how I feel about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And with that, that's it for this bi-weekly or whatever it will be pod. Well, thanks for tuning in. As you could probably guess, it's still going to be this. Whether you're listening to us or you're watching us on YouTube, it's still going to go like this. I don't know when, but for now, it's going to be just kind of sporadic episodes. I know they kind of happen to be 2 weeks. I don't know if it will be 2 weeks again. Just kind of depends on how much if any news happened, what we've been watching, things like that. So just stay with us, keep up on social media, and where can they, I mentioned social media, Daniel, what social media platforms can they find us?
We're on Twitter and Instagram at @AnActionPod.
And Brett, what can they listen to us on?
Did you look at me and you were like, you're not social media, you're...
Yeah, because we usually go to you, then Daniel, but I was on social media, so I decided to let Daniel just say it real quick.
Yeah, well, guys, they can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, where they can subscribe, and give us a little comment and rate us 5 stars. And now you can find us on YouTube. You can now watch our back catalog of our amazing shows that we've done so far, and our virtual shows, the past too.
Yep.
We are finally back on iHeartRadio, so all you iHeartRadio listeners, welcome back.
Welcome back.
You can listen to us on Stitcher, and I believe that is about it.
Did you say iHeart?
I did. I welcomed them all back. Yes, I did.
Right, you did. Okay, perfect. And if you want to follow us individually, see how we're doing during this quarantine time, you can follow me on Twitter at DRockMountain or on Instagram at DeRockyMountain.
You can follow me at Brett J. Burke on Instagram and on Twitter.
And I'm on Twitter at Danko89 and Instagram at DankoRomero89.
All right.
Stay safe. Stay home.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Yeah, totally.
That was great.